everybody. Welcome to The Truth Will Set You Free. This show is brought to you by TLBTV and the Liberty Beacon Project. And I'm your host, Linda Diane Wattley. And you know me. Yes, I'm excited. Not this time do I have one special guest. I have two. Ronald and Tracey Farham. Correct, Farham?
Farnham, yeah.
Okay.
And, Tracy Moore, Ronald Farnham, but we are mates and we are legally married also.
Okay, we're gonna talk about See, that's why I love you guys, because you're so unique.
Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna start a little bit with Ronald. I can't even tell you everything about him, but I can tell you this. He is a producer. He is a person with his own real TV show. He is a veteran, and we love our veterans on the Truth Will Set You Free show. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And he worked for the Department of Defense for 13 years. And he had a serious responsibility there. It's like, wow, intelligence manager? I was like, wow. And the thing about it, he's so well-rounded that he had to question himself one day. He was like, is this who I'm supposed to be, or is this something else I'm supposed to do? Because you have read A Course in Miracles. Mm-hmm. Was that what made you question? You said, what is the reality of life?
Exactly.
He is also an author. He makes films. He has written some really nice books. Hollywood Vine, How to Write Your Own Screenplay in 30 Days, and The Second Coming of Messiah, which is a very, very interesting book. And then Ronald Tracey. Tracy is an amazing person. She has many gifts and talents dealing with the psychic world. She has ability to sometimes see within the future. And she believes in her pineal gland. We're going to talk about that later, how you don't drink any water with fluoride, because you're not letting anything compromise your gift. And you can explain that as we go too. She also had a desire to make a difference in this world with humanity, so she became a medical assistant. And I understand the things that she learned, because I was a medical assistant also. I was like, whoa, is this what we about? So I really understood easy that you had to get out of there. And she had to get out of there, and she began to research truth that was better for mankind. And she will share a lot of these truths with us today. I can go on about these two. Both of them are in a film called Hollywood Divine.
Hollywood and Divine.
And Divine. And they will explain that also. And she's in that film. And together, they are out to make a difference. Hello, you two.
Hi, Linda.
We are so thankful to have you on our show today. We always enjoy people who want to make a difference. And one of the questions I wanted to ask both of you before we get started and all that things that you have to share, one of the things that I learned about truth in this world, the penetration of getting it to the people is such a task. Do you feel like at times your labor is in vain?
Well, what we started doing was booking podcasts and radio shows. So now we're starting to get good feedback. In the beginning, it felt like we were spinning our wheels and it's going to be impossible for us to get out our message. But now, like, thanks to people like you and getting to a wider audience, no, it's starting to pick up steam. But there was a point where it felt like I was going to have to wait until I was dead to be famous.
Did you say famous?
Yeah, it's not about, well, famous in a way where the word gets spread. You know, like the Bible is a famous book because it's all over the world and people worship that information. We have information that we're putting together and putting out there meant to help mankind become free human beings and learn how to think and learn what they don't know. That is so important to their relationship with everything around them, that I want to get us to a platform of fame so that our word spreads to help people empower themselves. It's not about money or riches or possessions. In fact, we've been getting rid of all of our possessions. It's about leaving behind a legacy of truth and justice for the people of, or every living soul in this earth domain.
So, Tracy, tell me this. Do you think there's really hope for the way people are getting at this time? No morals, no trust, lying 24/7. I mean, the President of the United States can lie to us 24/7. And we're supposed to respect him. What is the hope that we have to counteract this? Do you have any idea?
I think that as long as there are people like us, people like you, and people who care, there's always going to be hope in humanity. And as long as there's one person, that there is hope. And what I've learned is you can't help everybody. Everybody's on their own journey. So if I'm trying to help somebody and they turn their back on me, then I know that I'm not there to help that person. And I think we should respect the president just because he's in that role. But you don't have to like him. You don't have to agree with him. But like I said, everybody has their own journey. So I respect people's choices. But it doesn't mean that it's my choice. And I'm not going to follow them. I'm just going to follow my own truth and go with my intuition and continue what we're doing and hopefully help.
Well, Ronald, would you tell me something? What role do you think Trump is playing for this pivotal time in humanity?
Trump is a president of a corporation. Corporations have presidents, secretaries, and treasurers. Countries have governors. We live in territories. We're in Georgia right now. The state of Georgia is really a territory. His role is to be a mouthpiece and puppet and to say nothing about nothing for a corporation in order to keep the citizens ignorant about the truth of what their entire reality is. So he's accomplishing his goal. He's spouting out the rhetoric that the corporation wants. They're attempting to make one world order by making every country democratic, but really democracies are really socialistic tyrannies, and it's about controlling every citizen under the United Nations and a world police. And he's just part of that agenda. He's a businessman, and he bought into the deal. They hired him to do a job, and nobody voted for him. The Electoral College appointed him the new CEO, and so it's not even about, what we're doing isn't even about the president. It's about empowering people with the knowledge to take responsibility, to become a living soul, so that they remove themselves from the jurisdiction of the president and of this corporation that's posing as a government.
So how do we do this?
Well, from the moment you're born, you have 45 days to rebut your birth certificate, and most people, almost everybody, doesn't. So there's a process that we're learning and studying and going through this process step by step to file the court admissible documented evidence and contracts that by law remove us from the jurisdiction of the United States of America Corporation, rendering us as living souls instead of the legal titles of person, individual, resident, citizen, and domiciled. Those are all terms that put you under the jurisdiction of your local state statutes and the US of A federal government or corporation. And you can remove yourself from the birth certificate contract, social security contract, and the different contracts, driver's license contract, mortgage contracts, which are all basically written at a second grade level because they're all using the improper syntax, which is a separate issue. But everything that we're operating under is fraudulently written and is liable to lawsuits. So we are working on becoming living soul status by removing ourselves from those contracts and taking down the banking system by putting them all into dishonor. They haven't accepted our promissory notes, which are legal tender, and we've got 16 banks, the IRS, and the U.S. Treasury standing in dishonor now, and we're compiling our class action lawsuits and we're going to be hiring probably one of the best lawyer judges in the world who wrote the United Nations Constitution and knows about syntax verb adverb versus pronoun verb. And we're going to change the monetary system so that there's no more poverty. So that's what we're doing right now. And we're putting in this information into our movies and books and documentaries.
So, okay. So when you detach from that system, how do you exist?
The same as I ever existed. I can still use Federal Reserve notes, and I can still earn a living selling our books, movies, DVDs. I can go work a labor job, but I won't be subject to federal taxes or state taxes because I won't be domiciled. I will attach employment paperwork to any job I choose to work. Like, I'm in the Screen Actors Guild. So I can go to Los Angeles or New York or a major film and TV industry, and Tracy and I can work in TV and movies as extras, principals, doing whatever, and make our daily pay without having to pay taxes. So if we choose to do that, but our primary goal is to survive off of our intellectual property without having it subject to taxation or theft by a corporation that's posing as a government. So we'll still exist the same. We'll be able to drive our personal vehicle, not drive, but travel in our personal vehicle from point A to point B to conduct, do whatever we want to do. We won't have to register our vehicle, which when you register your vehicle, you're actually turning control of the vehicle over to the state. So we won't have to have a driver's license because I won't be a paid driver. We'll be traveling to, the earth. We won't have a domicile. And if we have no domicile, then we fall under no one's jurisdiction. My soul, we are from the kingdom of heaven, and we're here in this earth domain on vacation. And we fall under no one's jurisdiction. The Bible is basically a contract with God giving us responsibility to take care of his planet. He didn't give it to, or his land. He didn't give it to a corporation and tell the corporation that we had to rent the land from them. So there's a big fraud going on all over the world by these corporations that are posing as governments, and we understand the entire system of that, and now we're extracting ourselves from it, and we are learning how to legally operate within it without being subject to being taken by gunpoint and forced into a jail cell.
Wow.
I know, you see the world in a certain way. We're indoctrinated into a certain way of thinking. And once you pull yourself out of that indoctrination and say, you know what, I'm going to forget everything I ever learned from the Department of Education, which is just a department of a corporation posing as a government that has written the curriculum that it's been teaching us ever since birth, that we're supposed to memorize and regurgitate in order to get a job, to serve their system, to enslave ourselves, to pay taxes for trillions of dollars that go missing, or fight wars, or create technology that we don't have access to. We're still on gas engines for 100 years now, when we should be using, magnetic technology, or have, all kinds of different technologies that remove the need for burning fossil fuels and creating emissions and things like that.
Well, for what you're sharing with me, how can you tell that you're progressing with humanity with this truth? How can you tell that signs that we must keep doing this, that because you see that people are getting it?
I've decided, and Tracy has decided, we've decided to take responsibility for our own lives. Becoming a sovereign living soul means you're actually really taking full responsibility for yourself. And we're part of a large community now across the earth domain, whatever this earth domain is, that are doing the same thing, sharing the same information, working together, creating projects like the Ubuntu movement that Michael Tellinger is creating in order to break off from these rogue corporations that are posing as governments. And so we're not alone in this. There are a lot of people right now who are propagating.
Waking up.
Yeah, there's an awakening.
Yeah, and it's spreading because you see it everywhere. On all the social media, you see these people waking up. And so that's what we call it. And I have seen a lot more people, waking up and seeing what's going on. And that's how I can tell.
That's why I titled that book, The Second Coming of the Messiah, Book 1, The Awakening, because there was an awakening not just by the Messiah character in the book, but he goes on to spread it through the entire earth domain, and the entire world awakens to the truth. And then in Book 2 is going to be the rapture, which is what happens when everybody is awake, and there's this transition into a new world. And then book 3 is 1,000 Years of Peace, and I'm still writing the rest of those 2 books as part of the trilogy of that, because I decided to paint a picture of what is possible in these books and movies, so that people had an idea of, oh, if we do this, cause and effect, this can happen. Instead, we're programmed a different way by TV and movies, and like, for instance, in movies and TV shows, when they arrest somebody, they don't read them their rights until they arrest them. And what do they say? You have the right to remain silent. Well, if they walked up to you when they were going to hand you a citation and said, I pulled you over, do you know why? And you said, anybody said, but before you say anything, you have the right to remain silent. Then I would say, oh, well, then I'm going to remain silent. Now there's no option back and forth for any kind of verbal contracting to be made, because police start asking you questions in order to take control of the conversation, so that they go into contract with you by putting you into a position where you either have to accept, conditionally accept, or dishonor their offer. If you dishonor their offer, under admiralty law, which is the law that governs the movement of vessels, they can haul your vessel away because you've gone into dishonor. But if you accept or conditionally accept their offers, then they have no right to arrest you. Like, may I see your driver's license? Yes, I'll give you my driver's license on the condition that you do not write my name down anywhere or tell it to anyone. Now you've conditionally accepted their offer, and they're either going to have to take your driver's license and not tell it to anybody, or they're going to break the law and say, give me your license, and write you a ticket. Now they're violating, offer and acceptance, honor and dishonor. That's why judges are honorable, because the court is there to answer questions. In fact, one of the main oath that lawyers take is no law or fact shall be tried in court. So they're just there to answer questions, and they remain honorable by either accepting or conditionally accepting offers. There's a lot to this information, so we're learning how to navigate our way through the world by staying in honor.
It's pretty deep.
Yeah, but I have to share something with you too, because I saw that video you 2 did together, and it was this convoy of military vehicles lined up against the road. And my thing is, I keep feeling like our military is going to take us under hostage. So do you feel that this truth that you're trying to get us to see, is going to prevent this?
Well, actually, we've already been invaded in the North American continent by the Department of Defense, and here's how. When I was a counterterrorism analyst at Southern Command in Miami, Florida, I wrote threat assessments for our area of responsibility. The United States of America is a corporation. It has departments. One of those departments is the Department of Defense. The Department of Defense has broken up the entire world into major commands that it controls militarily. You have Pacific Command, Southern Command, European Command, Special Operations Command, and each command has an area of responsibility, and every command has a J2. The J2 is the intelligence sector of the command. When I was a counterterrorism analyst at Southern Command, whose area of responsibility was South America, Central America, and Mexico, in 2003, 2002, when I got there, Northern Command was standing up as a command with its headquarters in Colorado. Northern Command's area of responsibility is Canada, the United States, and Mexico. It actually took Mexico from Southern Command. So the Department of Defense of the United States Corporation has invaded the United States. The United States and the United States of America are 2 separate terms. The United States are a series of territories. The United States of America is a corporation incorporated in Washington District of Columbia. Northern Command's area of responsibility is the North American continent, Canada, the United States, and Mexico. It also has a J2 and is conducting surveillance on every state, every territory in its area of responsibility. So you look at the Edward Snowden incident and the NSA spying thing, and that's really a distraction from what's really important, is that we've actually already been invaded in 2002 by the Department of Defense through Northern Command. And you can look up their website, www.northcom.mil. So we are under military occupation. And we've been under martial law since the Civil War.
Wow.
I know, it's a whole thing people don't even realize. We're being distracted by other things.
And what's that called when it's implied?
They're using predictive programming to basically get us to manifest our reality that they want us to manifest.
Well, they want us to go against each other, divide and conquer.
Yes, correct.
They find all kinds of ways to turn one human being against another in a collective way.
And they use the Hegelian dialectic method by Hegel, which is problem, reaction, solution, order out of chaos. They create a problem. We ask for a solution, and they give us the solution that they wanted to implement all along when they created the problem, such as this recent shooting in Las Vegas. All these different bombings and shootings are really designed to get us to give up our weapons, because they don't have the manpower to fight a civil war when the living souls of the United States decide we're not going to take this anymore, and they revolt violently against the United States of America when they find out that Northern Command has occupied them and we've been taken over by a corporation. So they're doing the best that they can over the long term to create a situation where they can write legislature to make us give up our weapons.
Wow.
And I don't have a weapon. I don't have a gun. Some people shouldn't have guns. I don't want a gun anyway. I don't hunt. We don't eat animals. We don't eat any dead cooked animals. We don't eat meat. We're vegetarian. I don't feel like people are going to break in and rob us. I don't know. I just never had a gun or never wanted one.
Get anything.
So the point is, though, is that there are a lot of people who do have weapons, and they can't stop the people of the United States from fighting back when there comes a tipping point.
Well, I also remember when Tracy was telling us to not eat meat. She said the meat was dead.
Yeah.
It's like, never thought about meat being dead.
Well, a lot of times when people are eating, you see your steak or your chicken nuggets or whatever, and even little kids, they don't realize they're eating what was once a chicken, walking around, living, breathing chicken. Kids don't even know that. They're just eating chicken nuggets. They don't even think, and even adults, you don't think, oh my gosh, this was a pig. And pigs are highly intelligent. They're very intelligent creatures. And aren't they like us? They have like the same makeup. A lot.
Genetically, most of the animals we're eating have very similar DNA to ours, like 99% the same.
And chickens are really smart. They can recognize up to 11 people. They're not stupid. These are living, breathing creatures with hearts and blood like we are. Maybe a person would taste good, but we don't eat each other. So why eat an animal? Just like we love our dog, but people in other countries will eat dog or horse. It's all...
Well, they say in the Bible, it specified what beasts that we're supposed to eat. Like,
well, your body makes pretty much all of the vitamins and chemicals and amino acids and minerals that you need. There are only a few items that your body doesn't make that you must ingest from other sources, like ascorbic acid, from citrus fruits, certain amino acids, one or two of them that you can get from plant-based sources like hemp. So there's really no need. And if you believe that you are what you eat, then eating a dead cooked animal is going to turn you eventually into a dead animal.
Well, also it's a carcinogen. Anything that you cook like that becomes a carcinogen. So it's cancer causing. They don't tell you this. They tell you it's healthy, to drink milk, and we're the only species that drink another animal's milk. I mean, it's, when a baby calf is born, it drinks nothing but milk to get to 200 pounds. So, it's not healthy. And what all the chemicals and the drugs and the hormones they're putting in all the animals, and the way that they're growing these animals are just torturous and so inhumane that I couldn't do it anymore. I don't want to be facilitating them killing another chicken because, yeah, it tastes good. I know it does taste good, but I just couldn't do it anymore.
So why do you think the Bible kind of like told us what to eat, and that was part of it, eat meat?
Well, we've been learning from a master judge and syntax, the person who decoded the syntax of our language, that at least 1/3 of the words in the Bible are missing and are being improperly translated and interpreted. And he has gone through now and syntaxed the Bible properly, and the Quran and the Torah and all the religious texts to give you the codes and keys of what they're really saying. So I personally believe that for 8,500 years now, the religious texts have been used as a tool for manipulation to render the people under the control and jurisdiction of the state. And I'm really now, Tracy and I both use our intuition and common sense that we know what our body requires, and we get those sources from plant-based sources instead of being part of killing and torturing animals to death.
That makes sense. So what is something that you want people to really think about?
Wow.
I want them to think about their relationship with reality. One thing that has popped up repeatedly now is the fact that science has come out and told us that we are not really living in a base reality. All matter is actually light wave energy. What you think is physical is really light wave energy with a computer code at its base. And that there's a 1 in 1 billion chance that we're living in a base reality, which would mean that this is real solid and physical. That there's a strong probability, if not it's fact, that we are living in a simulation, and not a digital simulation, which would be a ones and zeros with limited possibilities, but an analog simulation, which makes everything possible. And it's our subconscious mind that is interacting and creating our reality bubble around each one of us. So what's important for people to understand is what is programming their subconscious mind, what are they allowing in, and it's time to take control of your subconscious mind and your thoughts and realize that we're living in some type of a sophisticated video game. We're not on a spinning globe, or at least the solar system isn't what the scientists at NASA has been telling us. And it's time to take responsibility for yourself in the game if you want to be free. Some people don't want to take responsibility, and that's okay, because our information is for a certain niche audience, which are truth seekers and people who want to be living souls and be completely sovereign and free.
And I encourage people, if they say, oh, you don't know what you're talking about, I encourage people to go and do their own research. Don't listen to us. Listen to us, but go and say, you know what, I'm going to look that up to see if they're telling, if there's any validity in this. Do your own research. That's what I promote. Don't just listen to us, do it. Do the work yourself. That's what I do. I research like all day long, and it seems like as soon as I find a rabbit hole, I go deeper and deeper, and it seems like the more we find out, the less we know. It just goes deeper and deeper.
Right now I'm studying quantum grammar by David Wynn Miller.
What's that again?
David Wynn Miller, and his middle name is Wynn. He's a judge and specialist on quantum grammar, and he is the one who has decoded the fact that we are all basically operating under a fraudulent premise by improperly using language and making every sentence that we speak incorrect from a mathematical standpoint. You have to watch and study his information. It's very deep, but it also is the code to the truth.
It's very enlightening.
So, Ronald, what was it about A Course in Miracles that made you question your life?
A Course in Miracles showed me, while I was working for the Department of Defense, that's our
Sorry.
The Course in Miracles opened me up to understand that much of the world is based in fear, and that there's a propagation of fear. Fear is what the Department of Defense is using to enslave everybody, the entire Earth domain. When I realized I was from that book, really reading it, the first 100 pages, made me decide to leave the Department of Defense because I did not want to be part of the fear warmongering machine. And so that was really what I got out of it. And that started me writing the book, The Second Coming of the Messiah. And it changed my entire life. I left everything. I resigned from the Department of Defense and decided to create the production company Enlightenment Through Entertainment, which is designed to take real, tangible, important information and enlighten the world with it through entertaining projects.
So how did that book get in your hands?
I was working at Southern Command in 2002 as a counterterrorism analyst, and I had a good friend of mine. I worked on this certain desk, writing for specific countries, and a friend of mine, Kathleen, I won't give her last name, we were just friends, and she was another counterterrorism analyst, and she was a briefer. And so she was into the same esoteric type of information that I was always studying. And in 2004, I left Southern Command and went to Special Operations Command, and I happened to see Kathleen at headquarters SOCOM, and she was on a mission. Her job was, she was rewriting the Constitution for Iraq after we had invaded them and destroyed their everything. And we were talking about stuff, and she told me about the book, A Course in Miracles, and she brought it to work and gave it to me, and she told me, she goes, here you go, I think you'll really get a lot out of this book. But don't be surprised if your entire reality and your world changes after this. And so she gave me the book, and I started reading it. And within about 6 months, I had resigned from the Department of Defense, and it changed my whole world.
Well, tell me this, what did you find different about that in the Bible?
A Course in Miracles was easier to understand. It was direct information. It wasn't coded. You know, I find the Bible difficult to understand because it seems to be encoded, and there's hidden messages that, you know, even Einstein went to his grave, and his last project was trying to figure out and decipher the Bible. And I know I'm not Einstein. So what I got out of the Course in Miracles was that it was more easy to understand, digest, and apply. You know, the Bible is pretty straightforward. I actually use the Bible now more as a law book, a book of common law. Like I said before, we're going through the process of becoming living souls, and we're following the documentation and the steps through in a document called The Path to Freedom that we got off from the Sovereignty Education Defense Ministry, sedm.org. We're following those steps. And there, the Bible is strictly used as a law book that is a pact between, a covenant, a contract between living souls and God, who has sent us here to have dominion and become caretakers over his creation, his land. And so Jesus in the Bible was actually a political anarchist. He went in and he was flipping over the the tax collectors' tables, because we're not supposed to be in contract with the government. You know, if you have a social security number or you're standing before a judge, you're basically worshiping an idol. You're saying that they're superior to you. They are standing up on a higher level than you. And so just the mere fact that we have a President Trump who says that, you know, we are his citizens and his people, he's making himself into a god. These judges and lawyers are making themselves into gods and false idols. And statutory law is a false idol, satanic den of thieves. And the Bible is our platform and security that keeps us in common law and out of the jurisdiction of these thieves, these criminals who are posing as false idols and our gods.
He's taught me a lot.
Well, Tracy, tell me something. While you was a medical assistant, what was the main thing that let you know you had to go?
I saw it more as the pharmaceutical companies. I guess it's more about the almighty dollar. They had us trained that the first thing you did when you walked in was ask the patient if they needed refills and make sure that they needed to get all their drugs. And there was so much of that, and my heart, you know, I just knew that I shouldn't be doing that, because I saw right through it that it was just a scam. They didn't really care about the patient. They come in for maybe 5-10 minutes and right away they want to give them another drug, you know, and there's so many side effects, and the most deaths there are from prescription medications. And then I got another job. I said, you know what, I'm going to get a job where I'm not, you know, doing this regular drug thing with the patients. I'm just going to get a regular MA job. So I got another job, and it was testing the elderly, their mental state. Turns out that was a scam too. I was supposed to call these patients and say, oh, your doctor said you have to come in and do this or they're going to drop you. And that wasn't true. They didn't have to go in, but the doctor wanted to make more money, and it was all a scam. So I was there maybe a month, and the day I was going to quit, actually I was going to marry this fine man. The day I was going to quit, they said that they were going to shut it down because it was a trial one at that office. And I was so happy because I just couldn't do it. I don't like lying to people. And they would say, do I really have to do this? And I say, no, you don't. You really don't.
Well, do y'all believe in such a thing as soulmate, or it's just living life out?
We're actually one soul because of we say the same things at the same time and take a sigh at the same time, and it's just weird. But yeah, we're as close to soulmates as I think is possible, honestly.
I know.
Our paths have crossed almost all of our lives. We only got married in 2015. We went to Las Vegas and got married at the Graceland Chapel by Elvis. And we knew each other in high school, but we didn't date. Tracy's letting the dog in. We didn't date in high school. We knew each other, and we went off and we had different marriages with different people. And when I was living in Los Angeles in 2014, I was halfway through shooting Hollywood and Vine, and I was going home to play in a baseball tournament. I play in the Roy Hobbs World Series every year in Fort Myers, Florida, at the end of October. And so I put on Facebook that I was coming home to Florida from Los Angeles to play in the baseball tournament. And Tracy, who we had crossed paths at a 7-Eleven one time, and we went to a high school reunion once years before that, and we sat at the same table
with our husbands and wives.
So I was in Florida, and Tracy pinged me on Facebook, and she's like, hey, because I was posting conspiracy stuff at the time too. She says, I'd like to maybe have a cup of coffee. And she was dating somebody, and I was just getting divorced from my second wife. And she's like, let's get together and have some coffee and discuss some of your conspiracy stuff, just as friends. So I called her up and we started talking on the phone, and
I got dumped. He got divorced, and
I flew her out to LA, and she helped, we filmed all weekend. I said, I'm flying you out to Los Angeles so we can just see what this is and see if it is something like how it feels over the phone. And so she flew out. We filmed all weekend. We had a great weekend. We didn't sleep for like 72 hours. Well, Tracy didn't sleep for 72 hours. I eventually passed out. But, and then I said to her that weekend, how about moving to Los Angeles with me and help me finish this movie, and we'll, go on this journey together. And she said yes. And so I flew back to Florida. We packed up all of her stuff. We drove out to Las Vegas. We got married, and then we moved into an apartment in downtown Los Angeles.
Now, it just seemed like you two would have been just as content without being married. So
we did that because her family, especially, are traditionalists. I wanted to make an honest woman out of her, and I wasn't going to. Yeah, and so I just wanted her parents to be happy, be satisfied that I wasn't just dragging her off somewhere, that I was making a commitment to her. And the way to show that, whether I believe in it or not, or whether I think it's, some contract with the government, we just did it. I did it because I love her. We love each other. And because I wanted to make everybody happy and let her know that I was committed.
I believe that, because I believe people are married before they actually go through the ceremony.
Yeah, I agree. You're in it or you're not, and both people can tell.
Right. And Tracy, you say you do not drink fluoride water at all, ever?
No.
Tell us about that and why.
Several years ago, my father was very, what's the word? He was basically doing research himself and always looking into important things like this. And he let me know about the fluoride in the water and how it's a waste product that the companies, if they put it in your water, they don't have to pay to have it, thrown away. So they decided to put this in the water, and it causes all kinds of problems. It's got rat poison in it,
Well,
Prozac.
Fluoride is one of the main ingredients in Prozac and rat poison.
And it just causes so many issues. I used to have a show briefly about having a healthy life, and I was going through all the things about what fluoride does, and it's just horrible. And that's just one thing I will not do. Even when we go out, we bring our own water, and like right now we have a bottle, just a glass bottle, because we don't drink out of plastic. Also, we have a Berkey filter, water filter, and it filters out everything except minerals. And we have the fluoride filters. It gets rid of all the fluoride. And so we take our water wherever we go. If we even go away for the week, we're going to go away next week for his baseball tournament. We're going to bring our Berkey water filter, because drinking any water, out. And it's just horrible. And that's just one thing. What they put in the water is, there's hundreds of chemicals and poisons, toxins in the water.
And plus they're growing vegetables in that water with fluoride. It's almost impossible to escape fluoride. You have to eat, you have to know how it's being grown, where it's being grown. We also eat organic and non-GMO, so.
But even that is probably being watered with fluoridated water. So, but we try, no GMOs, no.
We've already been doing the research to find out which countries don't have GMOs, which countries are organic, and which ones don't have fluoride in their water.
Right.
And we're moving there. We're going to Florida next month to film our next feature film. And then we're going to likely go to New York after we finish that one in Florida. And then from there, we're getting out of the United States.
But you also didn't have fluoride because of something about the pineal gland?
Yeah, it actually opens your pineal gland to not have fluoride. It keeps it
Fluoride
from calcifying,
calcifies your pineal gland. It builds up and hardens it. And that's your window to your higher self.
It's your third eye, yeah. And they do that on purpose. So you can't be enlightened and
have intuition.
Like
remember your dreams and astral travel and all those things. The pineal gland is probably one of the most important parts of our beingness. And I believe that it's intentional that they're giving us fluoride in order to
sedate us,
intuition down, and keep the people from communicating. And
totally.
We have everybody naturally is psychic, but if you're having your psychic tool covered up, then you can't use it. I remember my dreams so much more. Ever since I've been married to Tracy, I haven't drank any fluoride. So, and I'm starting to remember my dreams more. Now I'm working on astral traveling, and I believe it has a lot to do with me. I didn't realize about I didn't realize how bad fluoride was for the pineal gland for a long time. And so I'm thankful. Sometimes I feel like Tracy came into my life at a time where she pretty much may have saved me from an early death, through chemical toxicity, and she helped reawaken even more of my intuition and psychic abilities.
Wow, that's beautiful.
It's true. That's how I feel.
That's wonderful. I love it.
Sweet.
I love both of you guys.
Thank you.
Y'all concerned about humanity. So, Tracy, what is your bottom line?
Oh, gosh.
If you only had 3 minutes to tell people, this is what's up, what would you say?
I don't know. I think everybody, like I said, everybody has their own journey, and I would like to help people. Like, he has a dream of, he wants to, he has a goal, and my goal is to help him, assist him with his goals. But I also want to travel around, help people, even if it's one person at a time. I love helping people. So I would love if more people got together and helped each other, and and stop judging people. I think that's the hardest thing for us souls, is to not judge each other And so I try every day. My goal, my bottom line is to every day get up and try to be a little bit better person than I was the day before. Because my mom even said, she's like, you're different. And I'm like, thank you. That to me is good. I don't want to be the same person I was 10 years ago. I want to be a better person, not go backwards, but like evolve and, you know, into a better person and to be the best I can be. So, you know, and help people along the way. That's pretty much my bottom line.
What's your bottom line, Ronald?
My bottom line is to end war and poverty and truly like bring about this 1,000 years of peace by enlightening all living souls in this earth domain to the truth, that if they apply it, that it will completely give them sovereignty. It will end war because part of the solution is taking down the global military industrial complex and also giving everyone access to their personal credit through their signature, which is what the class action lawsuit with the promissory notes is. Promissory note is legal tender. Federal Reserve notes are promissory notes, and each living soul is also a private banker and can make, sign, and tender for value their own promissory notes that by law must be accepted by all banks, or they are conducting misconduct in public office, which is a crime that carries a maximum penalty of life in prison. So I want to also get rid of poverty by enlightening every living soul that they can actually write their own limitless amount of credit into a bank through the promissory note. And I'm willing, and I have the template and the cover letters all drawn up. So people email me every now and then asking for after I do an interview like this and I give out my email address, they email me for the promissory note template and I email it to them because I want everyone to start using these because poverty is manufactured. There's no reason for there to be empty homes and empty apartments while people are living on the streets without food or shelter, being treated like beasts. We're not beasts. We're living souls. We deserve shelter. And these corporations that are posing as governments have taken over everybody through the Federal Reserve banking syndicate and through taking everybody's land with fraudulent contracts, where everybody can actually have low-deal status to their land by removing themselves from the jurisdiction and by not signing a social security number onto their mortgage agreements. That means that they are the sole owners and they don't share any ownership in the property with a so-called government. So my goal is to eliminate war and poverty through those processes. And it's you know, there's a lot of things that have to be done, but I've got it all, and I'm working all the information through all the projects, and doing interviews like this is helping steer people in the right direction.
And we have to band together. You know, some people say, oh, what can one person do? Well, guess what? There's one person, one person, one person. Pretty soon you got a lot of people. And, you know, there's strength in numbers. So we all have to band together to change this matrix that we live in.
Yeah, it's a game.
So what is your definition of love?
Right here.
You know, I think love is actually your soul telling you that this is what's right now. That love is like a feeling, and it's a message from your higher self saying that, telling you you're with the right mate, and that is the person that you're supposed to be with, and it feels right, like all the way through. And I think that's what love is. I think, you know, it's hard to. All these years, people really haven't been able to put it into words. Everybody has a different opinion, but my opinion is it's an emotion that comes from our higher self that lets us know we're with the right mate.
And I think it's love is loving somebody unconditionally with all their faults and all of their, you know, what they're like. You can look at somebody and pick out issues, but if you love that person, you look at the positive things. You know, a lot of people are always picking on, they're like, oh, well, they don't do this or that. You have to love the person unconditionally, allow them to be who they are. And then it's just easy, you know?
Like I have a couple of faults. Like Tracy tells me, I'm a little tactless. I tend to speak my mind and what I think is the truth, and I don't care if it offends people. Sometimes I want to offend them because I want them to look at the information and go, you're living in a lie. Here's the truth. You're ignorant and a slave, and you don't realize it. And that's tactless. I understand that.
You can get more honey if you, bees.
You get more through honey than you do with vinegar.
So.
But she overlooks that, and I love her, and she loves me, unconditionally.
Unconditional love.
So you don't believe there could be love with conditions?
I think everybody has their own, what's the word?
Well, I'll tell you what. One thing I have learned is offer, acceptance, honor, and dishonor. So, yes, there's conditional acceptance in everything. To stay in, when the priest says when you're getting married, will you honor your spouse? What they're saying is are you going to accept or conditionally accept all of their offers and stay in honor? Because staying in honor means saying yes or conditional yes. And I understand that. A lot of people don't understand offer, acceptance, honor, and dishonor. So Tracy and I both understand it, and we always accept or conditionally accept each other's offers. And when we don't, then we sit down and we have a discussion about, about compromise and where the conditional acceptance is going to be. If more people understood acceptance, conditional acceptance, and honor and dishonor, it would actually improve marriages and relationships, because everything is honor and dishonor, offer and acceptance. And so, yes, a marriage, a partnership definitely involves conditions, and that is conditional acceptance. I agree. I'm glad you asked that question, because we would have never, and that's important information for people to understand. The police use it as a practice. When they throw on their lights on the side, their sirens, and they're pulling you over, they're making you an offer. They're asking you to pull over. And when you pull over, you've accepted that offer. When they walk up to the window, they're asking you a question, making you an offer. Oh, I pulled you over. Do you know why? Oh, why did you pull me over? Or can I have your driver's license? Now you have an option: acceptance, conditional acceptance of that offer, or dishonor, which is arrestable, like I mentioned before. And because we live under Admiralty Maritime Law, which is the entire world now is under Admiralty Maritime Law, which is the law that governs the movement of vessels. In order to stay in honor and keep yourself out of jail, you have to accept or conditionally accept all offers that are made by officials from the government.
You two have been on the Truth Will Set You Free show, and I always like to know, what truth do you want us to remember you by? Starting with Tracy.
Gosh, there's so many. Always be true to yourself, because in the end, I believe that nobody judges you but yourself. So if you can be true to yourself, then you're good. That's what I live by.
Okay, Ronald, I know you had one. That's why I had to let her get hers in first, because I know he can go somewhere.
Well, here's what I need everybody to understand, and understand a few things. There are 3 forms of English being spoken in the United States, or any language: formal, slang, and legal English. Learn legal English. Almost nobody except lawyers speaks it. The largest body of information that you don't know is what you don't know that you don't know. And in order to find out what you don't know that you don't know, there are 2 resources that you should go to. Go to sedm.org and start reading the Path to Freedom document. Go to YouTube and look up David Wynn Miller and start watching his seminars. This will change your reality. It will let you know now what you did not know that you didn't know before. And once you start going down that path, you'll realize that you can be a living soul and be free and remove yourself from the jurisdiction, and you'll be happier that way. And there is a path to freedom, and there is hope. So, and if you want to check out us, I can give you the contact information.
Because you have several books you have written. If people wanted to reach you, how could they reach you and get in touch with your books?
They can reach us through enlightenment, through ent, as in entertainment, at gmail.com. And the through is spelled THRU. Yeah. And we're on Amazon.com. Just type in our names. In fact, the first 20 people that email us, I want to send them, because I believe everybody has a story. I want to send them the PDF book of the how to write a screenplay in 30 days or less. It teaches you how to write your screenplay, how to turn it into a published book, and then how to make your movie or sell the movie, because everybody's got a story out there. And I made a book designed to make it quick and easy to write your screenplay, turn it into a book, and make the movie if you want to. So enlightenment through ent@gmail.com or Ronald Farnham.ronald@gmail.com. But I'd rather use our production company Gmail address.
Is there anything else you would like for us to know?
We are all about helping humanity, ending war and poverty, and that's it. We're not about possessions or even money. We don't really want or need anything, and this is all about helping all living souls. So that's our bottom line, really, together.
Yeah.
And you enjoy it too, huh?
Yeah, it's a passion.
Yes.
Yes. I really appreciate having you on the show today.
Thank you, Linda.
Very
And anytime you want to come back, just let me know.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Keep me updated. Let me know when you're among your own kind, and let us know how you're progressing, how we're growing in this direction, because we need this.
Oh, totally.
Take care.
All right, bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.